Hey, Teresa.
Chairman, how are you?
Good.
Good. We have people joining now. We'll give it a few minutes, let the judge join us.
I'm here.
Started. There you are. How are you? Welcome.
I'm peachy.
Great.
Hey,
Well, thank you
Judge.
for joining us.
Glad to be here.
We still have people jumping on, so we'll get started just after 2 o'clock.
Okay, sounds good.
How's everything in your neck of the woods?
It's Monday.
Well, that's the truth.
It's Monday. We're having cases are jumping through the roof here. It's been crazy.
Really?
That's why we do these on Monday. We like to get the week started off on people's most leisurely day, right?
What's a leisurely day?
No idea. No idea.
So I'd say you need about 10 minutes from me.
10 to 15 minutes, and then if we have a couple questions, we'll get those to you as well.
Sounds good.
All right.
Will I be able to share screen?
You should be able to, yes.
Okay.
Let's see.
There it is.
Yeah, I've got our dashboard with our COVID cases. I want to be able to share that as I talk about that.
Okay.
Okay. You should be able to share. It shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, good deal.
All right, and we are actually right at 2 o'clock. And we do still have people joining, but we can go ahead and get started. All right. Well, welcome everybody back to BayTran's weekly webinar series. We have been reaching out across the region. We started with our mayors, and now we're lifting the umbrella up a little bit and now looking at things from the county perspective. I'm Teresa Rodriguez. I'm the president of BayTran, and I'm joined by our chairman, Carl Joyner, and also by our special guest, County Judge Matt Sebesta from Brazoria County. We have been doing this, Judge, to kind of see how the communities in BayTran's region are faring through COVID and how we're looking at our infrastructure as a means of getting us back up and running once we are as close as we can be back to normal. Carl, did you want to make any remarks?
Yeah, so Judge, we appreciate you coming on today, and we do want to hear how the pandemic has affected Brazoria County, not only from the health issues, but also has it affected your sales tax and things like that. And then also we'd like to hear whatever transportation issues you have there, and how you would like for BayTran to help with those issues. And we really appreciate your taking time to be with us. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Carl. Glad to be here. And looks like I've got more A&M stuff in my background than you have KU. So I think I win today.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure it really, points out right there.
Absolutely. We got to showcase a little bit. So glad to be here and join y'all and kind of give some updates. This has been absolutely crazy this last 3 months with what we've gone through with COVID. It is, we think we're prepared for hurricanes. In Brazoria County, we're pretty well prepared for flooding. I think we've had 5 major floods in the last 5.5 years while I've been here. And we understand those. This has been a new adventure, and it seems like it's changing every day. I've used this quote. A river flood, which we've gone through 4 or 5 of those, it is kind of like a chess match. The river comes up a couple inches. What's going to get flooded. What neighborhood, what roads, what houses, what bridges. And you can kind of make your plan. So it's kind of like playing chess. If anybody's ever seen the movie Dodgeball, this is kind of like, COVID's kind of like Dodgeball. you're playing dodgeball blindfolded and somebody is throwing wrenches at you. And it's just hard to plan. We're doing our best to plan and try to see ahead, but it seems like every day something is coming from a different direction, and wrenches hurt. So we've tried to learn and adapt as we go along and kind of prepare. But, a month ago, we were seeing a downtick in our number of cases. And we were rocking along pretty good, right at the single digits, even on some days. And that's when we were counting prisoners, and we were having some nursing home numbers come in. And we had prepared, Sharon Trower, my PIO, had prepared some notes for me about worst day, best day. Our worst day was May 17th, where we had 38 cases, of which 34 were nursing home related. Well, that's gone to hell. Yesterday was our worst day. We're slow on the weekends, and we had 42 cases yesterday, along with 36 or 37 cases on Friday. So we've seen a tremendous uptick in our number of COVID cases. And I'm going to share this screen with you. Let's see, Teresa, if you can open this up so I can, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh.
Let's see if we can.
Let's see.
I'd like to be able to share our dashboard so that folks can kind of see the graphics on that.
Let's see, I'm working on that. Give me 1 second. Okay, anybody know how to, I don't want to share my screen.
All right, anyway, let me just talk about it.
Okay.
Go to our Brazoria County website when you can, and you will see our total number of cases, which we're approaching 1,000 cases now. We'll hit that number probably this week. We go in, we show from each community, you can see how many cases. Of course, most of our cases have come out of the Pearland community because we have 130, 140,000 people, and that's our more denser population. But we are seeing cases from just about every community throughout the county. But you will see on the second graph, you will see the number of cases. Now that has really spiked up in the last week or so that we are seeing on a daily basis. We've had about a dozen deaths. Most of those have been older residents that had some other health issues. I think our youngest person that has passed away has been at the age of 58. And we've seen cases from folks in their 90s to a 1-week-old that has tested positive. So we've seen a wide variety in age ranges. The majority of our cases that we're seeing over the last week or so are people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. Not as many in the older age range, because I think the folks in the older age ranges are taking this a little bit more seriously. They're still being very precautionary, wearing masks, washing their hands, maybe not going out as much. We're seeing a lot of younger folks that are testing positive, and I think that is due to the younger folks have just gotten a little cabin fever as the economy has opened back up. They're going out and about more and trying to get back to normal. But by doing that, I think they're dropping their guard a little bit. And so we're seeing a jump in cases in the younger age ranges. And I think we've seen cases jump throughout the state, not only in Brazoria County, but across the state as a whole. And of course, the main thing that we need to watch is the hospitalization rate. Because we do have a limited number of hospital beds. ICU beds, that type of thing. Here in Brazoria County, if I recall correctly, I think we only have 408 total hospital beds. So we're very limited in that realm between the hospitals we have in Lake Jackson, Angleton, Sweeney, and a couple in Pearland. And the couple in Pearland are fairly new. They've just come in the last 5 to 7 years. So they have added a good number of beds to us, but we're still just at over 400 beds. That's including maternity beds, and you can't really put those off. Those put in the timeline 9 months ago, so when they're needed, they're needed. So that's what we're seeing, but we have not seen our hospitals get overwhelmed as of yet. But that is something our health department is certainly watching. I think one of the other things I wanted to talk about a little bit was our State Highway 288 project, Brazoria County Expressway, as we call it. You know, it's the main lanes are known as the Nolan-Ryan Expressway. I wanted to keep that expressway in there as a little tip of the cap to Nolan-Ryan. So that project is going along well. I think with reduced traffic we've had over the last 3 months, the contractor has been able to get caught up a bit. Let me look at my notes real quick here. Most of all of the flat work has been done. Most of the rails have been poured. The total contract with all of the add-ons and change orders is at $101.4 million, with the expressway being $82.2 million. The TxDOT portion being the 518 rebuild at the expressway is $16.2 million. And I'm very proud of the way we were able to work with TxDOT on that project. That project was actually slated to happen a couple of years from now. And they had estimated it at $25 to $30 million project. And we were able to work with TxDOT and say, hey, we're going to have a contractor there working on the same footprint. Let's incorporate that into our project. And that way the traveling public won't see construction in that area twice. After a short break, it won't be as disruptive. And you should be able to get better unit prices. And of course they did. Rather than a $27, $28 million project that'll be delivered down the road, it's a $16.2 million project, as well as the Pearland Economic Development Corporation putting in $3 million for some very nice aesthetics through the Pearland area of the project, which will make it very aesthetically pleasing, and we're very proud to partner with them as well. We're working with Hectra and BTG to work out the final coordination for the back office and the tolling information. And so we should, early September, I think is when BTG is scheduled to be finished with the portion in Harris County that they're working on. So I'm hoping sometime in September, that barring anything else that impacts the schedule, we should be able to cut the ribbon on that project late third quarter or maybe early fourth quarter to get traffic flowing and give folks that are traveling in and out of Houston from Brazoria County, give them an option to increase their or shorten their timeline on their travel. So that is where we're at on that project. We've got several other projects that have been in our tip. Our County Road 101 widening, that is under construction. So we're doing very well on that. And we also have our County Road 59 widening, County Road 58 widening. They're in the design phase and working well on getting those done. We've also worked with TxDOT on the grade separations up and down the 288 corridor. I believe we have 6 of those that over the next few years will be under construction, which will help make 288 a safer corridor to travel. Very much appreciate the partnership with TxDOT to make that happen. So that's where we're at on that. want to back up a little bit. I think one of the things Carl mentioned was talk about financial impacts of COVID. That is absolutely a concern as far as the impacts. I'm hoping they're not going to be as bad as what everybody is saying. You know, one of the things, home sales are still very active in Brazoria County, and my understanding is it really has had very little impact on the sales of homes. So that's a good thing. And I think having lower interest rates right now is continuing to help fuel that. And Carl mentioned sales tax revenue. I'm going to shock the hell out of you. I got our numbers for April today, and they were up 28%. So, which, yes, absolutely. Which I thought we were, you know, my gut feel was I thought we might see a 30% loss, but it was flipped from that. We actually saw an increase. So I'm not sure. I need to visit with some of our folks to try to get a really good feel for that. But I don't know if it's just folks were getting into the grocery stores and spending a lot of money there. Really at a loss right now to understand the whys on that, but I'm very pleased to have seen that our sales tax numbers are actually up. In a month from now, we'll know what May looks like. I think May be a little bit more indicative of what we'll have going forward. So, you know, we shall see. It's an interesting conundrum that we're in. Of course, we're going to be starting our budget process here in Brazoria County over the next few weeks. We'll start our budget hearings, which are all public. You're all welcome to attend. So that will be something that we'll be going through, and we'll be looking at very closely. And I anticipate we won't be adding many positions as we go forward, and we'll be looking at our pocketbook very judiciously, as I'm proud to say we always do here in Brazoria County. We've been very fortunate over the last 5 years. We've dropped our tax rate 8.33 cents. We've been at the no new tax rate, also known as the effective rate, for I believe 12 out of the last 13 years. So we've been able to hold that or even slide it a little bit below because we have a very strong economy here in Brazoria County, both in the retail sector as well as in the chemical sector. It's done very well. So with that being said, I will open it up, and I just did have a chat question came in, and
Yes.
that was April of this year versus April of last year is the numbers on that. So I appreciate the question, Kim.
Well, you know, you talk about the sales tax figures, and you know, as we've talked with the different communities, different cities around the region, I mean, they're all being impacted differently due to the sales tax figures. Are there, within the communities in the county, are there hot spots or any particular communities that you think are maybe going to struggle a little more than others because of that?
Well, I'll be interesting to see what the Lake Jackson numbers are. They will, sales tax impacts them more than any other city in Brazoria County because they have such a low property tax rate. They're down and below 35 cents on their property tax rate. And so they rely on sales tax quite a bit. They have industrial agreements with Dow and BASF that helps offset some of their costs. So that's a big help to them. They're very low on property taxes, generally about half of what the rest of the cities are. But they also have the mall there, which was closed for a pretty good amount of time. So they're going to have a significant impact in Lake Jackson. So I imagine they probably got their numbers today. I haven't seen their numbers to know exactly what they're facing. The numbers that I was given by my auditor just in an email this morning was countywide. So I imagine Lake Jackson will have the biggest impact in their community.
So Judge, one of the top 3 things that we're looking at BayTran wise for the federal infrastructure package, if it ever happens, the one I think that probably would affect you the most is the completion of the Grand Parkway. That's one of the 3. We have the widening of the ship channel and the coastal spine also, but tell me, what are the impacts in Brazoria County if, like, the ship channel were widened, or if we were able to get the protection of the coastal spine? I really already kind of understand the Grand Parkway, but can you touch on those 3 issues?
Well, the Grand Parkway's very, very important to Brazoria County, especially segment B in the Alvin area. Alvin has the right-of-way through Alvin already. They obtained that years ago when they were talking about a Highway 35 expansion. So they've already got the right-of-way. Alvin is seeing some tremendous congestion issues, and we need to get at least that portion of the Grand Parkway done through Alvin all the way over to 45. That project will very much benefit League City and Alvin as far as getting traffic back and forth between those 2 communities, and will help the congestion in the Alvin area. And then we need to get it over from Alvin over to 288 and then over into where it comes off 59 in Fort Bend County on segment C. That needs to happen as well. Coastal spine, that'll be very important for the areas of Brazoria County that are subject to storm surge. It's more important, of course, to the upper reaches of Galveston Bay, where we have a lot of petrochemical assets, as well as a lot of homes. That will, if I could hit a little bit further down the coast, it could have had an even more tremendous impact on our petrochemical industry in the upper reaches of Galveston Bay. So that's going to be very important. And once we get our both Port Houston and Port Freeport, get those deepening projects done, we're going to see a lot more imports as well as exports. And exports is a really big deal to me, whereas we're making more products here in Texas and we can send them around the globe. I think that's very important to Texas businesses, as well as getting in whatever supplies and things that we need here in Texas and in the central part of the United States to come through Port Houston and Port Freeport. Those projects will be very important to our regional economies.
So next year we'll be having a large group go to Austin to visit about transportation issues, and we really want your involvement in that, not only participating maybe in going to Austin, but things that you would want us to work on for Brazoria County. And I know you talked about some of those today.
Absolutely. Glad to be there to advocate for Brazoria County and our region as a whole. The highways don't just stop at the county lines. We've got to be able to tie our job centers, our manufacturing centers, and our suburbs and inner cities. We need to be able to tie them all together so that people can get around efficiently and effectively. And so transportation is extraordinarily important to that. I have concerns about the dollars that are going to be available going forward, not so much from COVID. I do have some concerns there, but also because of the oil business. We've seen some hits there, and that drives a lot of the dollars that come into transportation and education and into the overall Texas economy. And our legislators are going to have I believe they're going to have a tough session this session, depending on how the oil business continues to go and our overall economy. So it's going to be a tough session in Austin this year, and we need to make sure that we can hold our own on transportation funding, as well as this federal package needs to get done at some point in time, and
Right.
so that we have some comfort in how we plan moving forward.
Right. Now, you mentioned, and we usually come across this as we're talking to our mayors and officials, is that projects don't stop at a county line. So the partnerships between various counties and the counties and cities are very important. We have a question from Mayor Mike Foreman from the city of Friendswood, asking if there are any plans for extending the Pearland Parkway to the Friendswood border.
That is a good question for the city of Pearland. That is a city of Pearland project. So I don't know what their plans are in Pearland with that project, because it's I think all of that is inside the city limits of Pearland. Maybe a little bit of it is in Brazoria County, but that'll be driven by the city of Pearland.
That was a good try, Mayor Foreman.
I think you just wanted to put the bug in your ear just in case.
Absolutely.
Now, we do have time for a final question. It comes from Jim Russ. And Jim wants to know if the Aggies are going to play this year.
They better.
There's your answer, Jim. Well, thank you so much, Judge. We're so glad you can make time for us. And Carl, if you have anything you need to say before we wrap it up.
Yeah, so Judge, great job today, and always good to hear about our surrounding communities. And I did just want to put in a plug for segment A of the Grand Parkway, which, would connect you guys over here to Kemah, which I know you would want to come and visit our little city. Plus, it helps us get out of here too. So anyway, that's one of the values of all of us working together. And I look forward to working with you when we go to Austin and try to let people know there how they can help our area grow and continue to work together. And you're right, all of us need to work together. We can accomplish so much more when we do. And I think all areas have been doing that the last few years. And I think people have become friends, and it just makes for a lot more fun area to live, work, and play. So thank you, sir, for being with us today.
Thank y'all for having me, and I appreciate everything that BayTran does to help us all work together, because it's all important to our entire region as we continue to grow. We've seen phenomenal growth in this region, and we need to do everything we can to have transportation opportunities keep up with that. So thank y'all for having me, and I very much appreciate everything y'all do.
Thanks so much, Judge. We're lucky to have you as a partner. And before we wrap up, we just want to thank another one of our partners. Our sponsor for today is HDR. And we just want to invite everybody back next Monday. We've got Pasadena Mayor Jeff Wagner coming on. So we're going to keep this up, and hopefully we'll continue to see everybody on Mondays. So our most leisurely day, as we said earlier. Right.
Thanks, Judge. Appreciate it. We are adjourned.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, everybody.